ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ ನಾ ಹೋಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ನಿಮ್ಗ
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, there were some technical issues. That's the reason the meeting was unable to start. I think we are now in a position that we can start the meeting. So, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Am I clearly audible now? Am I clearly audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we'll start with risk management where we have stopped. Okay. And one more thing, from the coming Monday, I would be engaging your integrated marketing communication, that is IMC class also. Okay. So I'll be taking both these subjects, that is risk management and integrated marketing communication for you. So accordingly, please join the class whenever the message is put as far as IMC timetable is concerned. Okay. So we'll start from wherever we had stopped yesterday. Are you able to see the screen? Can you see the screen, all of you?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. So basically, we stopped at this particular slide in my previous class. And I told you from your exam point of view that this is one of the most important parameters of assessing risk, right? Now, what we are concerned is we are concerned about these two, you know, areas. We are concerned about these two areas, okay, and that is the high risk area and the low risk areas. This is where we are concerned about. In fact, we are not even concerned about this part, but if you look at the black box and the yellow color box, these are the areas wherein we are maximum concerned about, because one aspect is when it comes to risk part, in the first black box, if you see, there is a very high frequency of a particular event been happening, and if this particular event happens on regular basis, the impact of this is going to be very, very high. For example, suppose you are working in a chemical plant or you are a manager in a chemical plant, and the amount of chemicals that are used in your organization or that are used in the plant cause regular health injuries to your employees or have a very drastic impact on your employees' health, then in that particular case, we can say that your factory is at a high risk. The reason being, it has a very high frequency of occurrence. That means the accidents are occurring on regular basis. And second thing is, the once the accident occurs, the severity of it, that means the magnitude of that particular accident is very high. And that is the reason the damage that this accident is going to cause is going to be very high. That's the reason we categorize this particular risk as a high risk. On similar basis, we have high to medium risk. On the same basis, we have medium risk and we have the low risk. Now, when it comes to low risk, we are not much concerned about, right? So these small accidents keep on happening in any organization that you see, and small injuries do take place in most of the factories that we are known about. But the impact of this is very low, and the effect, the number of times this accident occurs is also low. So we are not much concerned about the pink color box, but what we are more concerned about the yellow and the black color box. The reason being, the financial impact of this on the company is huge. The financial impact of this is very high on the company, and that's the reason we are much concerned about the high risk area and the medium to high risk area. So this is where bulk of our concentration keeps on happening. Clear? So from your exam point of view, I repeat once again, this parameter or this particular slide is very important. Please understand this particular concept, that the question can come as what are the parameters or how is risk analyzed. So the question, if the question comes as how is risk analyzed, this is the answer for that particular question. Next, we move on to what are the major objectives of risk management is concerned. Now you need to understand that whenever any organization starts, it is exposed to certain amount of risk on everyday basis. And these risks that arise are not planned risks. So in case if you know that if there is a planned risk that is arise, you can always control it or you can always manage it. But sometimes risk can come without any intimation. And when that risk comes without intimation, how do you need to tackle it, or what should be your priorities, or what should be the objectives of risk management is what we have to understand here. Again, from your exam point of view, this is a 3 marks question that has been asked regularly as to what are the objectives of risk management. So the first objective that we have to understand is we have to maintain a reduced risk exposure. That means we know that our company is going to face the risk. In such case, is it in our hand to control this particular risk? That is the question that you have to ask to yourself. And in that particular case, you have to give an answer as to if you are able to manage this particular risk, well and good, you avoid that particular risk. But if you cannot manage that particular risk, if you think that the risk is too high for you to sustain, then it is always better to go for insurance. So if you look at the first point, it talks about insurance and self-insurance. That means either you give this risk-bearing ability to a third party, that is an insurance company, or else you create some amount in your financial transactions such that you give an insurance for that particular asset. In other words, if you have seen any balance sheet, and in the balance sheet, there is some entry called as contingency fund. Now, what is this contingency fund? Contingency fund is a fund which is kept aside, which is a certain sum of money which is kept aside for the simple reason that tomorrow if something goes wrong in the company, you are going to use this particular money, you are going to use this particular money from this contingency fund to make good for the loss that you have incurred. Now, even after incurring or even after making good for that particular loss, you are still not able to cover up that particular loss. In such case, it is always better that you go for the third party insurance. That means you outsource the insurance to an insurance company. So that should be the first objective. Achieve and maintain a reduced cost of risk. If you outsource all the risk to to the insurance company, you end up paying only the premium, which is a loss for you. On the other hand, if you think that I can manage all the risks that can arise in my company, in such case, you are keeping a large amount of sum of money in the form of contingency fund, which is going to affect your profitability. So now the question comes, how much should I take and how much should I outsource? That is what we call as achieve and maintain a reduced cost of risk exposure. Next is, if you look at the next point, look for each and evaluate and assess all the risk of loss and need for insurance related to specific performance of objectives. Now, in plain and simple words, it says that look for all the activities that are going on in your factory, look for all the processes that are going on in your factory, and try to identify where you are able to control, where you are able to face the risk. And if you are facing the risk, okay, can you take some cover for that particular risk? That is the second objective of risk management. Third thing, it says, if you know that you have identified certain conditions or you have identified certain places or certain processes or practices, wherever you feel that a risk can arise, have you tried to eliminate that particular risk? Or if you're not able to eliminate, have you made any changes to that particular process, that system, that area, or to that particular event, which is likely to have a major impact of risk on your process? So that is the third point. And last point, it says, by doing all this, if you feel that you are not in a position to cover the entire risk, then the best part is, it is always better that you outsource this particular risk to a third party, because if you are outsourcing the risk to a third party, then you are shifting the responsibility of maintaining that particular asset to the third party. So that is the reason why we say today insurance is very important, because it helps you to work in a stress-free environment as far as your losses is concerned. So if you know that if there is a loss tomorrow, somebody is there to cover up that particular loss. So, and most important thing, if you face a very tough competition, it is always better that you have an insurance, because in a competition anything can happen, and if you end up making a loss, then if you end up making a loss, you will spend all your earned profits or your retained earnings in trying to cover up that particular loss. So whatever effort that you have made in the previous years will all be wiped off just because you have not taken adequate insurance cover. So the last point basically talks about you purchase an insurance cover, okay, that suits you the most. Okay, don't over cover yourself and don't under cover yourself. That is what this particular slide talks about. Clear? Any doubts in understanding the objectives? Please tell me on regular basis if I'm audible or if I'm not audible. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Fine. So now we come to the next slide called as risk management technique and strategies. Okay, now if once you know that you have identified the risk, okay, once you know that you have identified a risk and you have done the ranking of that particular risk, that means you are facing a number of risks in your factory, but it may so happen that you prioritize only few and leave the rest, no, because you feel that they are low risk category, so you leave them. Now we have to prioritize, or we have to make certain strategies to ensure that if we face the first type of risk, that is on your screen you can see high risk area. So if you feel that you are facing a very high risk area, or your factory is exposed to a situation wherein you are constantly exposed to high risk, say for example, you are a petrochemical company, and in a petrochemical company, you are always exposed to the risk of fire. Fires are very common. Fires can happen in a manufacturing plant. Fire can happen in a textile plant. They can happen in a chemical plant. But fire happening at a petrochemical complex or a petrochemical plant is very dangerous because you cannot control that particular fire. So in such case, naturally, you are in a high risk zone area. Now, since you are in a high risk zone area, can you come to a conclusion that it's a very high risk business, so I don't want to do business, I will shut down my plant? Is it possible? It's not possible. But wherever possible, can you avoid risk of fire? Can you have fire extinguishers at every possible place? Can you have an automatic fire detection alarm system? Can you identify certain areas wherein you feel that if the temperature of a particular place, of a particular cylinder or a particular refinery, if it goes beyond a certain limit, automatic cooling systems get started? So if you are able to do this, what are you doing? You are trying to avoid the risk. You are trying to reduce that particular risk. It might it might happen so that at some times you are not able to avoid that particular risk. So when you cannot avoid that particular risk, the best thing is transfer this particular risk to somebody else. Okay. When you cannot avoid the risk, as far as possible, try to avoid it. But if you cannot avoid it, the best thing is please take an insurance cover. That means transfer the risk to the third party. And if the third party is willing to take that particular risk by accepting a small amount of money from you in the form of premium, please do that. Clear? All of you take an insurance cover for your vehicle, right? Whether you have insurance cover, whether you wear a helmet, whether you put on the seatbelt, that is not important because you don't care about it. But what you care definitely is whether your car has an insurance. The reason being, accidentally, if somebody else comes and hits you, or you go and hit somebody, the loss that you're going to make is going to be enormous. And to avoid that particular loss, what do? You transfer the risk of the accident to the third party, that is an insurance company. Clear? So whenever you are in a high risk zone area, first thing is to always try to avoid. If you cannot avoid, then you try to reduce the risk. If you still cannot reduce the risk, please transfer this to the third party in the form of a contractual agreement. Clear? Next, we come to the second part in your that particular matrix that I have shown you. That is this particular matrix. Now we are talking about both these points. Okay, so I'm explaining both these points in a parallel way. So this point and this point I'm explaining you in one point itself. This talks about the medium to high risk. Here what happens? The frequency of occurrence of an accident is low. That means number of times this accident is going to happen is going to be low. But if it happens, the financial implication of this accident is going to be high. So severity is going to be high, frequency is low. Here, severity is low, but frequency is going to be high. So this area we call it as medium, high to medium risk and medium risk. So let us try to see what happens in this particular area. It says first try to avoid, again, the first point says, as far as possible, try to cover up this particular risk at your level by avoiding this particular risk. First is avoid. If you cannot avoid, try to control that particular risk. Try to control that particular risk. Next, it says, when you can control that particular risk, you reduce your loss. That means you have a loss reduction mechanism in place. And in spite of doing all these things, if you're still not able to control the risk, and if you still want to go ahead with this particular process that you're doing, then best thing is transfer the risk. Again, here it talks about contractual agreement, that is an insurance policy. And last one, he says, always create duplication of resources. The more duplication of resources you keep, the better it is. But how much? How many duplicate cases you are going to keep, or how many duplication of resources you are going to keep? That is a question mark depending on your financial ability. So the second slide or the second point in this particular box says, as far as possible, try to avoid that particular risk. If you feel that you cannot avoid that risk, try to control that particular risk. And when you control that particular risk, what do you do automatically? You reduce your loss. And when you're trying to reduce this particular loss, you might come to a particular situation wherein you are not in a position to bear that particular loss if an event happens. In such case, you always transfer that particular risk to the third party. That is an insurance policy. You take an insurance policy. And last point, it says, create a duplication of resources always. I've told you in my previous class, very soon you may have to come to a situation wherein you will have to give your presentations for your project, whether it is offline or whether it is online. It might so happen that you have put your presentation in a pen drive, and on that particular day, for some or the other reason, the pen drive does not open. Now, if you have not created a duplication of resources, that means if you have not copied your presentation on a CD, or if you have not copied your presentation on your Google Drive, in such case, what happens? You will get panic, and in due course of time, whatever presentation you want to give, you will lose that particular presentation because you are in a state of stress. The best thing is create duplication of resources. Create multiple presentations and store it at different locations. Keep one in your PC, keep one on your laptop, keep one on your drive, keep one in your Gmail, keep one on your WhatsApp, and keep one in your pen drive. All cannot fail at the same time. Something will definitely work. So it is always better that you create duplication of resources whenever such events happen. So that is what we call as the risk management technique. And last point, he talks about low risk areas. These are areas wherein you don't need an insurance because you are able to control that particular risk on your own. So it says self-retention and loss reduction strategy. Try to refrain yourself, try to control that particular risk from your end itself. The best thing is, whatever safety precautions are given, please follow that. Automatically that risk will be covered, or that particular risk will be controlled. So these are the techniques that we have to understand as far as risk management strategies are concerned. We go to the next one. So this particular point, or these 4 points, talk about risk management strategies, specifically when it comes to non-insurance methods. So that means you do not want to take any insurance for this, but you still want to cover up this particular loss. So what are the techniques that we have to understand as far as non-risk, risk management, non-insurance risk management techniques? First of all, it says, try to avoid that particular risk as far as possible. See, whenever I say that, try to avoid that particular risk, means you avoid that particular risk. But many times it might so happen that you cannot avoid that particular risk, right? You cannot avoid that particular risk. So whenever you cannot avoid that particular risk, can you do something else? Yes. And what is that you can do? You can control that particular loss. I'll give you a simple example. You are driving a car. The basic safety mechanism says that you need to lock the door whenever you drive the car. The second point, it says always wear a seat belt. Now you cannot come to a conclusion that there is too much of traffic on the road. Only when the traffic gets cleared, then I'm going to drive the ride. That day will never come. Traffic will always be there. So you cannot avoid that particular day, or you cannot avoid going out. You have to go out, you have to go for your work, you have to go for your other work. So basically, you have to drive. Now, you cannot say that I cannot drive or I won't drive because there is too much of traffic. You have to drive. Now, if you are driving, there is a very high chance that you can meet with an accident, or somebody else might come and hit you. So in such case, you will have a damage. There will be a damage to your car, and more so, there will be a damage to your life also. What is the basic thing that you have to do whenever you are driving? See that the doors are locked. Second thing, put on the seat belt. And third thing is, see that there are airbags in your car. That is the basic thing. So what are you doing? You are controlling that particular loss. You are controlling that particular loss. Third thing, it says focus on loss control. If you cannot avoid that particular risk, the best thing is, and if you don't want to go for insurance also, best thing is control that particular risk as far as possible from your end. Okay, control your things from as far as possible from your end, because that is the best safety mechanism that is always possible. And fourth point, there is a theory called as the domino theory. Now, what does domino theory says that? It says accidents do not occur immediately. There is always a indication given before the main accident comes into picture. I'll give you a simple example. All of you have heard the Bhopal gas tragedy. Have you heard a case called as the Bhopal gas tragedy that took place in India? I'm asking you, please reply. Have you heard of Bhopal gas tragedy?
Yes,
have you
sir.
heard of it? Okay, you have heard of it, right? Can you tell me what exactly happened in that particular Bhopal gas tragedy? There was a leakage of gas, and as a result, the entire factory exploded, and those chemicals or that particular gas mixed in the air, and there was serious damage of life and property to that particular area, entire area. Now, do you think this accident happened overnight? It happened immediately? No. There were indications 15 days before the people found out that there is some leakage in the gas tanker. There were indications that a particular type of smell has been emitted in the atmosphere, which was an indication that something is major likely to happen. The quality control people had already intimated the top management that something is going wrong in the plant. You need to take care of it. So, in any accident or in any event that you see, a prior information is already available to us. And when you neglect that particular information, finally on that particular day, either things go wrong, things explode, things go out of control. This is what we call as the domino effect, right? So domino theory or domino effect says that accidents don't occur all of a sudden. There is always a precondition which has been given or which has been intimated. Only thing is we have to able to identify that particular situation and sort out the problem. If you have this attitude ki jab accident ho jayega tab dekhenge, then naturally you will not be able to identify what could be the damage caused by that particular accident. This particular concept is called as the domino effect. Okay, most of the time the domino effect or most of the time the risk occurs because of this particular point. The fault of human beings. There is either a neglection, you neglect that particular instance, you neglect that particular signal, you tend to have oversight of that particular signal, you feel that that particular signal is not important or not, you should not take care of that particular thing. Next thing is, over a period of time, you develop a situation wherein you start working in an unhealthy, unsafe environment, and you pretend that this is the only environment that we have to be working in. You don't take care of the precautionary measures. It leads to a condition of unsafe environment. And when there is an unsafe environment, naturally, what happens is afterwards, if you don't address this particular issue immediately, what happens is the accident takes place. Yeah. So this is called the domino effect. It gives us indication. The indication is mostly because of human error. Human error occurs because of unsafe working conditions or neglection or arrogance or ignorance. Because of this, accidents do take place, and when accidents do take place, there is tremendous amount of injury that is going to happen. So this entire 5 step that you can see is nothing but the domino effect theory. Clear? From your exam point of view, I would like to tell you that this is a very important question. Explain the domino theory with suitable examples. You can take the example of Corona also and explain this particular theory. When all the lockdowns were opened, when everything was opened, people did not take care. People became reckless. People became ignorant. People became careless. And as a result, without taking self-protection, they started wandering out in open markets without maintaining social distances, without putting on masks, without having personal hygiene. They came in contact with many people, and in due course of time, you see today an event has occurred, an incident has occurred, and the effect is we are again in a lockdown. Okay. Now, what is the reason for this? Don't you think that this is the main reason for this? Who is responsible for this? We are responsible for all this, right? Because we did not take care, because we thought that we are prone to this particular virus. Now nothing is going to affect us. The vaccine is there. Vaccine is made in India. So there is nothing for us to worry about. But if you see the rate at which the cases are increasing, if you see the rate the deaths are increasing, it is a clear indication of the domino effect. The reason being we did not take care of the situation. And what happened because we did not take care of the situation? It is the fault of the system. It is the fault of the human being. So this entire theory, we call it as the domino theory. Clear? Any doubts in this? Please understand that this is important. A very important question. Explain the domino theory with an example. So this is very important. Please understand. And you can make a note that from exam point of view, this is a very important question. Now we come to the next part. We are coming to the types of loss controls. First is severity reduction. Okay, in severity reduction, what can we do? Just go through this example first and we'll try to explain these points. The first point talks about severity reduction. How can we control loss? We can control loss in multiple ways. First is we can reduce the severity of it. So there is an example here. You will be able to understand what do you mean by severity reduction by going through this particular example. Just go through these 3 points and then we'll discuss. Okay, I think the first point is very clearly understood. There is no doubt in understanding the first point as far as risk severity reduction. Okay, the point very clearly says that any car company, any automobile manufacturer will always have airbags, seat belts installed in their automobile. They know they cannot prevent an accident from happening, but if the accident happens, they can always prevent the driver from getting injured. And for that reason, what do? They always have the airbag system in the place. They always have the seat belts in the place. Okay, and they always have a crash mechanism system in the place. In most of the advanced and luxurious cars, they have something called as the crash mechanism system. Okay, so it is it's a technical concept here. Okay, the way you have airbags which protect the driver from getting injured, in the same way there is some hydraulic system